Yo, yo. What's up? There we go, right on time. It's 9 o'clock sharp. Make myself a little bit bigger. So what are we looking at here? So I'm on the Azure. I'm on the Azure documentation. I recently found this actually. A friend of mine had sent me a link. I was looking at some design. I was looking for some documentation on a design pattern, and a friend had sent me over a link to an article on this website. Actually, it's called the Strangler design pattern. There it is. Incrementally migrate a legacy system by gradually replacing specific pieces of functionality with new applications and services. And so he sent me to this website, and I started looking around. I'm like, this is a really good resource for just learning. Like, look at all this stuff. Actually, I need to make this bigger, don't I? I need to make this bigger. Let me do that. I just zoom in. There we go. Is that better? And I got to make myself smaller because I have a big head. Oh God. That is better. I think that's good. Now I need to lock these layers. Lock. Okay. Anyways, amazing resources on this website. Here, I'll put this down in the architecture. Put this in the comment section if someone wants to peruse through that. I think it's kind of neat. So I was looking at. Okay, there's popular articles. Web API design. This looks kind of interesting. Shit, still too big. Okay, that should be all right. Maybe I'll put myself in the top right. Yeah, that's probably better. There's never anything important on a website in the top right. Oh. That's good. But anyways, found this website. Super cool. It's got a lot of articles on all sorts of different things. But yeah, so web API design. Most modern web applications expose APIs that clients can use to interact with the application. A well-designed web API should aim to support platform independence. Any client should be able to call the API regardless of how the API is implemented internally. This requires using standard protocols and having a mechanism whereby the client and the web service can agree on the format of the data to exchange. So essentially, this is how communications are defined between services. The web API should be able to evolve and add functionality independently from client applications. As the API evolves, existing client applications should continue to function without modification. All functionality should be discoverable so that client applications can fully use it. So in terms of like discoverability, it's good to have like models, like model objects that you define that say like this is what the input is and this is what the output is of the API. And this is an interesting little note here. As the API evolves, existing client applications should continue to function without modification. So it's interesting because sometimes you want to like remove things from an API as they get outdated. But if you have a lot of dependencies, it gets very difficult because, you know, in order to delete a field, for example, you have to make sure your clients aren't consuming that or else it's going to break, right? Oh, and I want to get a stream channel thing. Stream URL. What is the URL of this stream? Because I want to share it on Twitter. Could someone help? How's it going, chat? Okay, I can't figure this out. This console isn't very helpful. But anyways, so back into web design here. So as I was saying here, removing things could sometimes get a little bit complicated because you have to make sure your clients aren't using it anymore. This guidance describes issues that you should consider when designing a web API. In 2000, Royal Fielding proposed representational state transfer, REST, as an architectural approach to designing web services. REST is an architectural style for building distributed systems based on hypermedia. REST is independent of any underlying protocol. That's interesting. So it can be implemented across any communication language and is not necessarily tied to HTTP. However, most common REST implementations use HTTP as the application protocol. And this guide focuses on designing REST APIs for HTTP. Primary advantage of REST on HTTP is that it uses open standards. It does not bind the implementation of the API or the client applications to any specific implementation. For example, a REST web service could be written in .NET, and client applications can use any language or tool set that can generate HTTP requests and parse HTTP responses. So the communication is independent of the underlying language that the user is using to implement. And so the good thing is that you can have an application that's hosted in, like it's saying here, .NET, talking to another application that's written in, for instance, Python or Ruby or Go or Rust or anything else that you want. As long as it conforms to the protocol or conforms to the pattern of HTTP, rather, then those can work interchangeably. Actually, let me take another shot at getting my live stream URL here. So there we go. Oh, let me share my Twitter post. Twitter. Here we are. Come join the live stream and chats. Also, learning about, what am I learning about? API design, I guess. API. Whoa. API design. Oops. There we go. Let's close that off. What were we talking about? So we were here. Uses open standards. Here are some of the main design principles of RESTful APIs using HTTP. REST APIs are designed around resources, which are any kind of object, data, or service that can be accessed by the client. A resource has an identifier, which is a URL that uniquely identifies that resource. For example, the URL for a particular customer order might be blah, 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 /orders/1. So that's what you'd expect to see. Just changing the title. Of the stream. All right. So this kind of makes intuitive sense, right? You have your base URL, and you're saying the identifier is orders in this case, and the order that you're interested in is order number 1. And obviously this can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but kind of orders is the theme, right? Clients interact with the service by exchanging representations of resources. Many web APIs use JSON as the exchange format. For example, a GET request to the URI listed above may return this response body. So you're getting order ID 1, the value is $100 basically. ID is 1, quantity is 1. Okay. Let me know if you guys want to read about something else, by the way, or learn about something else. I'm just kind of doing whatever I feel like is fun. REST APIs use a uniform interface which helps to decouple the client and service implementations. So this is kind of going back to what I was saying before. For REST APIs built on HTTP, the uniform interface includes using standard HTTP verbs to perform operations on resources. The most common operations are get, post, put, patch, and delete. Gotta be honest with you, I only ever use get and post. In some rare occasions, I use delete. So I'm not sure how useful put is, or I don't even know what patch does. REST API, actually, let's just check the difference. What's the difference between post and put? Post versus put REST, right? In other words, post is used to create. The put method requests that the enclosed entity be stored under the supplied requester URL. If the request URL refers to an already existing resource, the enclosed entity should be considered as a modified version. What? I still don't get it. In other words, post put is used to create. Oh, so it's like an upsert. Both put and post can be used for creating. You have to ask, what are you performing the action to? To distinguish that, you should be using, to distinguish what you should be using. Let's assume you're designing an API for asking questions. If you want to use post, then you would do that to a list of questions. Okay. If you want to use put, then you would do that to a particular question. Oh, okay. Great, both can be used, so which one should I use? So it seems like post is the batch version of put. You do not need to support both put and post. Which is used is left to you. But just remember to use the right one depending on what object you're referencing in the request. Okay, so here's the caveat, right? If the URL is not created, you should not be using post to create it while specifying the name. This should request in a resource not found because new question does not exist yet. You should put new question resource on the server first. So put is the insert, post is the update, if I understand correctly. You can do something like this to create a resource using post. Okay, so I think that's the gist of it. They use a stateless request model. HTTP requests should be independent and may occur in any order. So keeping transient state information between requests is not feasible. Okay. The only place where information is stored is in the resources themselves. Resources being the server that you're calling. and each request should be in an atomic operation. This constraint enables web services to be highly scalable because there's no need to retain any affinity between clients and specific servers. Any server can handle any request from the client. That said, other factors can limit scalability. For example, many web services write to a backend data store, which may be hard to scale. So essentially, in layman's terms, the requests don't, like they contain data obviously, but the server doesn't need to care about the history of a request or anything. Actually, what's a good way of explaining this? Well, they're stateless, right? So hold on. Stateless requests. How do you explain this? Right. So, okay. So yeah, no session information. That was it. So that's opposed to like sticky connections. If you're using something like WebSockets, you're communicating to the same server, right? So you need so that would be a stateful connection, because if a request comes in, it needs to be routed to the one that's already associated with that front end. REST APIs are driven by hypermedia links that are contained in the representation. For example, the following shows a JSON of an order. It contains links to get or update the customer associated with that order. This is kind of strange. I've never seen this before. Maybe I'm doing it wrong this whole time. 2008, Leonard Richardson proposed the following maturity model. Level 0, define one URL or URI, and all operations are post requests to this URI. Create separate URIs. Oh, okay. So basically with this one, you have one URI, and then you have logic on the application side to say like where to branch off, what logic to perform. And then for this one, it's like create separate URLs for each resource. Resource being things like order, like transaction, like customer, like that. But there can be many different things that you're trying to do, right? There can be a get, there can be a post, there can be a delete, there can be any kind of modification on that row. And then the second one, or the third one, since we're zero indexed, is use HTTP methods to define operations on those resources. So you're using your get, you're using your post, you're using your put, yada, yada, yada. And the last one is use hypermedia. What is this? So I usually use this one, level 2. That's the basic standard. Level 3, practice many published web APIs, fall somewhere around level 2. Huh. I like this one as a, like comparing 2 to 1. I like 2 more because with number 1, it's like, you know, you have your slash orders, and then with this model, you'd have like a post URL associated with that. And I don't think that's very, that kind of limits you, right? So like say you want to have some particular specific logic with reference to that URI or with reference to that resource. You can't create more than one. Like say you want different URLs for post, right? Or different operations. You'd have to have one URL and then the routing built within the URL. Whereas this, for number 2, you get kind of that branching by definition. So it's more declarative, I would say. Whereas this one kind of requires you to peel back more of the implementation to understand how it works, which kind of sucks. Yeah, so don't do things like this. Create order. The HTTP response indicates whether the order was placed successfully or not. When possible, your resource URL should be based on nouns. This is a long article. Jeez Louise. Let's just take a look at some of the other things here, because I'm not going to go all the way into this. Auto scaling. Mm-hmm. Well, currently there's no viewers, guys, so I'm not really talking to anyone, just talking to myself here. Do. But anyways, these are really good articles. Interesting. Okay, I think I'm screwing something up, guys. I don't know why, but like on my... Okay. I'm just finally seeing all the chat happening. I don't know what's going on. Like I have a different studio thingamajig open and I think it's screwed up. And so I wasn't able to read everyone's chat. So it's good to know that you guys are actually here. Oh, there's 8 people. Okay, sweet. Sup, dudes? I thought I was just talking to myself this whole time. I'm like, this is such a bummer. Can you guys hear me? Joe, what's up? AWS Simplified. Would be keen to hear your experience, thoughts on the AWS SDK. You guys can hear me okay, right? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Thumbs up in the chat. Okay, good. Hear your experience / thoughts on SDK. I think it sounds great. It's thumbs up. Nice. I think it sounds great. So I've used actually a lot of CloudFormation, which I believe is what CDK actually is, like it compiles into. So I love CloudFormation, and so I never really liked learning CloudFormation, unfortunately, because it's in YAML, and well, it can be in JSON too, but it's a little bit, how do you say? It's too verbose, I find. And verbose in the sense that you have to define so much detail on like how you're creating the resources and how they're linked together. And what you end up getting is like this massive, massive file that's like hundreds of lines long. And it's like, what is going on? How am I going to maintain this thing? So unless you like separate it, I think I talked about this in the live stream too, unless you separate it into smaller files, and it gets really confusing. But I like the fact with CDK, it's much more easy to read, obviously. It's code, right? So like, I don't know if everyone knows what CDK is, but it's infrastructure as code essentially, right? So let's just take a little peeky here. Or maybe like CDK example rather is probably good. What do we want to look at? Let's make this bigger. Oh man, you guys have been here since the beginning. I feel so dumb. Okay, I'm gonna have to go back and read through the chat in a few minutes here after I talk about this. ECS cluster, sure. So this is what it looks like, right? It's just some very, very simple code. So you're creating a VPC. Well, you're obviously declaring all these resources. I don't really know TypeScript very well, so I don't understand what this is going on there, but I know it's a constructor. And you're creating a VPC, and then you're just saying this, and then you give it some details, and you just pass in some extra things, and then next you declare your ASG, and you use constants, and it's absolutely amazing. Because I'll tell you what happened when I was using CloudFormation. Like, you're looking for the strings that you need to populate values into, and you have to look it up in documentation. So now with this, you get autocomplete, right? Like when you're using it in your IDE, it's just like ECS dot blah, blah, blah. And then you get it right away. And then it's a lot cleaner to read, right? Like you can, make this more modular and functional by, saying create layer 1 of your infrastructure, create database, and have that be a whole function. And then, create your scaling layer and create whatever other layers, right? So it gives you a lot of flexibility. It's very easy to read. I personally think it's the future of infrastructure as code from the AWS perspective. Now that being said, I think there's still a place for CloudFormation. So if you're on CloudFormation, it's not the end of the world. You can slowly migrate over. And I do like Terraform. I think someone just, oh wait, hold on. Joe says, I've been able to condense 2,000 lines of CloudFormation to about 250 lines of CDK. Dude, I love to hear that. That is good on you, Joe. I hope that's me one day. Absolute game changer. I agree. Derek is saying Azure, Google Cloud, or AWS for Linux-based dev. Derek, I think it depends on what are you trying to do, right? And what kind of community are you looking, like, not community, but how do I phrase this? What kind of level of community support are you looking for? Because I think that's really what you get a lot out of AWS. It's there's a ton of help and so much Stack Overflow questions and like a very active and lively subreddit and so many YouTube channels and all that stuff. So I think that you're going to get the levels of support through AWS. I also think it's a more mature product. There's more services. They do a lot more in their own. And, I'm biased, obviously. Like this channel is called AWS Simplified, right? So I don't want to like throw Microsoft under the bus here, but I think it's healthy to have competition, right? Because or else you just have one dominator. You don't want to throw it off track. No problem. Don't worry. Any questions you guys want to ask? Okay, Joe has been trying to ask this question for a while. Quick question, please. I have a simple API gateway API, but noticed it charges me $10 a month, which is odd since I'm barely using the API. But I heard that HTTP APIs are up to 71% cheaper. Any thoughts? So there's two questions there. First one is, why are you getting billed for this since nobody is using it? So first suggestion is go and look at your metrics and see if someone else may actually be calling your API. There's a lot of bots out there that are just trying to call APIs and see what kind of data they can get, just like random strings of characters, right? This is how data leaks happen sometimes, just bots hitting URLs. So go and check your metrics to see what's going on. But you shouldn't have any kind of cost there. Is it like, so API gateway cost model. Like if you're not using it, you shouldn't be getting charged. I mean, that's the whole point of the cloud, right? You only pay when your APIs are in use. There's no minimum. For HTTP APIs and REST APIs, you only pay for the API calls you receive and the amount of data transferred out. Maybe this is something to watch out for, Joe. Maybe if you have some really big requests. But yeah. API gateway free tier includes 1 million HTTP. Yeah, and like this includes the free tier, right? Oh, but you're using REST. Honestly, I would just go with the HTTP. I don't really care for REST. I just end up defining my own structure anyways. So it's like REST is just a waste of time for me. It just like puts you in a straitjacket. Like I understand there's value and all that, but it's like I don't got time for thinking about how to do things in REST. Just like create order, create transaction, create thing, just like bang, bang, bang. It's too much thought. And then you have to maintain it, and it gets a pain in the butt. So yeah, I would go with HTTP. I think it's more practical, more real world friendly. Okay, I'm going to scroll back now and start reading some questions because basically I was on for 20 minutes and I thought I was alone. So Abhishek Patel, 20 minutes ago, asked, have you worked with Lambda in Python? I have difficulty installing libraries like MoviePy. Yes. Okay, so Abhishek, I have a resource for you. So if you go to my channel, let's watch my own video on my channel. How about that? So, okay, so well, why am I live twice? Hold on, guys. Let me figure out what's going on here. Does not seem right. Videos, live. Okay. How do I stop this live stream? Not this one, because you guys are all here. I'm just clicking some things over here. Off screen, so don't be alarmed. Oh, you know what happened? I tried to set up like a schedule thing today. Okay, I'm gonna click a button here and it says end stream. I hope I don't get blown away here. But if I go away, I'll come right back. Hello? Can you guys still see me? Right? Still working, right? It looks like it is still working. Yes. Okay, we're on. We're good. All right. So I think what happened was that I used the auto start thing for the stream today to schedule it for 9 o'clock my time, and I went into the UI thing and I also clicked start stream on something else, and I think they collided or something. So if I refresh this now, this should only be oh God. Please help me. And bear with me, boys and girls. I need like a YouTube for Dummies class. Okay, so I only have one thing live. Why is it showing both here? I don't know. All right, screw this. I don't got time for that. Anyways, what were we talking about? So Abhishek was asking about installing dependencies for Python. So you can do this using Lambda layers, and I think I have a video exactly on this. So RDS, how do I search within my own channel? There we go. This one, how to query RDS MySQL from AWS Lambda in Python. So let's just watch this video.
Want to sell online?
Boom, I just got owned by my own ad. Nice. Hello everyone. This is the video where I show you how to query your MySQL database hosted in AWS. Have that set up already. You're going to need it for this exercise. On temporary directory created for this exercise. So watch this. And if we just take a look in this path here, we just have one file called handler.py. That's what we're going to be using to write our code in. So now what we need to do is install PyMySQL using pip, but to this directory. So what I'm doing here in this video is, so you can do this multiple different ways. You can use Lambda layers, which is basically creating a package of dependencies that live on your AWS account under the Lambda section. And then once you've created that, every other Lambda function that's, I believe, in the same region and in the same account can access the Lambda layer. And it can be as if it's a local package. So what I'm about to show you in this example is just including the dependency in my zip file that I'm uploading up to Lambda, and then uploading that whole thing, right? So now I have like a zip file that's into Lambda, and it's got that dependency on local, so it doesn't need to look for it anywhere. So let's see what I do here. If you just do pip install PyMySQL. Oh yeah, so you need pip for this as well, which is Python Package Manager. If you don't have that installed, then you're going to need that first. It's not going to install to this directory. And since we're using a Lambda with an external dependency, we need to bring that dependency in to our Lambda function through a zip file. So we need to actually install this locally in order for this to work. So instead of using pip install PyMySQL, we're going to use a slightly different command, which is pip install -t for target $pwd, which stands for print working directory, and then we're going to say PyMySQL. So this should, okay, that was quick. So if we just do ls now, we can see now we have two folders here, PyMySQL and another. The -t is important there because you need to tell it to define or to write it to your local, and not, I believe it'll just like do global. I don't know exactly what it'll do. Metadata folder here as well. So I'm just going to bring up Sublime Text now, which is where we'll write our code. Okay, so this is the inside of that handler.py file, and I just have some stuff here already pre-prepared. So there's not much to this after, except for like when I zip it up, which let's like fast forward a little bit. It's probably like right here. We just save this file now. On handler.py, we should see that we get two results back. There we go. Those are the two things from our just change some name to our Lambda. This is my handler file. So now you use the result will be go and do that now. Python 3 RDS take two section. Wait, when did I upload this?
Keep in mind this has a 10 megabyte limit, so if it's larger than that, you need to do it in S3, upload to S3, and then point. Oops.
And I just did it. Sorry, now I remember.
Should have doing this from Linux.
I just right-clicked and created a zip. I literally just right-clicked, like control selected, and bang, 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 and then just right-clicked it and did compress. It was super easy. Abhishek is saying, I've worked with that, and libraries like OpenCV have worked in Lambda. They work completely fine, but I'm getting permission errors just in the ffmpeg. ffmpeg Lambda Python errors. I don't know, man. I'm fishing for problems here for you. So Lambda not connecting to this. You need to include the static build. Have you tried this? So you download the x64 version and zip the file. After that, on the top of your code. So it looks like you need to do something special here for this. This looks right. You've tried this, Abhishek? I'll put this. Oh, you did try this. Huh. What error are you getting? Can you post the error? What does this library even do? FFmpg. Record, convert, and stream audio. Oh, okay, that's cool. So Connor is asking, I have an ECS Fargate project where I request data from an API and do some calculations with pandas, and then post data to RDS with SQL Alchemy. Would it be possible to do this in Lambda, like with layers? Yeah, absolutely. This is very easy to do. You can actually follow this same video to set it up, because you just need to, like, if you're using layers, so for instance, you would create a layer for PyMySQL in this case, which is a dependency of this particular project. So yours would be like OpenCV or Pandas. And then you create a layer for that, then you could just start using it within all your Lambdas. The other option is to do what I did here, install it locally, zip everything up, send it up to the cloud, and then you're good. Permission denied in the folder where ffmpeg is installed. You can import it, but while using it, it's giving the error. What the frig? Permission denied. Check if that works. I don't know about this one, Abhishek. I'd have to spend a bunch of time looking into this. This is one of those issues that unfortunately is not very easy to debug. It's probably some problem with like the ownership of the folder that it's located in, and maybe it doesn't have like read or write permissions, something like that. Not exactly sure what's happening. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the beginning and read some more of these questions if some of these folks are still here. Update method. Oh, okay, so you guys were trying to help Abhishek. Herman, if you're still here, you just finished the Docker video. Looking forward to the rest of them. Thanks, man. I actually really started getting into Docker lately, so I have a whole bunch of videos, and I find it really, really fun. And the reason is because, like, at work, I don't really use Docker because we have our own things, like our own build scripts and our own stuff that kind of similar to Docker. But yeah, so now I'm like just playing with what the world does or what the world uses on the day-to-day. I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. It's crazy how much stuff has changed in 4 years. I can't really believe it. I've been working at the same company for 4 years and kind of doing my thing there. And I'm trying to like keep up with what's going on outside. Let me make this bigger because I'm just basically talking to you guys. So I'm trying to keep up with like what's going on outside, like what people are actually doing. And I'm like, look at all this stuff that's happening. GraphQL, I'm like, holy crap, what is that? All sorts of new things, Docker, Kubernetes, yada, yada, yada. I kind of missed the boat on it. So I'm playing catch up. And that's why you're finding me with like a whole bunch of videos that are like super simple. You may be thinking it's like, it's so basic. It's because I'm coming at it from this perspective. It kind of sucks, but it's good because I'm learning a lot. So back to Abhishek's question. Any other options where I can run this Python code? You can run it on an EC2 machine if you want. Just go spin one up. Do pip install ffmpeg, whatever. ffmpeg, whatever that thing is called. Run it from there. I don't know like how often you want to run it or anything like that, but it would work. So yeah, Docker was coming along. What else did I miss? Okay, so Joe was asking about CDK, which I answered. And Joel was asking about, or talking about Terraform. So Terraform is interesting because it's kind of generic, right? It works for Azure. And I actually have a good friend of mine that's been using it a lot at his work because they're kind of like a split split situation where they have half and half. Half AWS and half on Azure, just because they're really into SQL Server, so it's kind of tricky of getting off that because they have like all this dependency hell. But so they use Terraform because they're doing a little bit of this and that on AWS and Azure. Seems pretty cool though. I never used it. Intro. Can I just look at a example? But the thing is, like, even if you don't know Terraform, then you'll probably be able to pick this up really fast. If you already know like CDK or CloudFormation or anything like that, I doubt you'd have any trouble. Wow, I am enormous. That's better. Terraform example file. There we go. Just give me a bloody example. Oh. API gateway. Ah, okay, okay. Wait a second. What the hell is this? Okay, I don't understand Terraform. I gotta do some reading on this after. Okay, wait. I'm not giving up. An introduction to Terraform. Learn the basics of Terraform. Yes, sir. Yes. Set up an account, install Terraform, deploy a server, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we know what AWS is. Thank you very much. Yada, yada, yada. Okay, so then you're creating a role that has policies. Got that. Okay, so then you're using the Terraform CLI. You're giving it the key so it can access that role or that user. Okay, and then here's like what the file looks like, right? So, okay, so they have their own kind of pseudo JSON-like language. I really hate when they do this, like trying to reinvent the wheel. And then I guess you just run Terraform init and it goes. Sweet. Oh, Terraform plan, refreshing Terraform state, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so this seems like kind of similar to what you get in CDK or CloudFormation, so pretty cool. Raphael with asking what the topic here. Basically nothing, I'm just doing whatever you guys want to see. So if anyone wants some topic to be covered, let me know. Whoa. I was at the architecture, Azure architecture thing before, and I thought no one was interested. Were you guys interested in this, by the way? Like, does anyone want me to go through any one of these? I'll give you the link. Let me just catch up with the chat. So everyone's trying to help Abhishek. That's great. Leon's asking, do you keep up with the tech news or did you just hear about it recently? Leon, what, hi, by the way. And what, maybe I'm out of context here. What are you referring to? But I do keep up with tech news. I usually read Y Combinator or Hacker News. I basically go here once a day or so. This is honestly, it's like Reddit, but without the dummies and like jerks that are just trying to like, you know, get top, like go to the top of Reddit or get upvotes, whatever they call it. All the different technology that I've been learning recently. Oh, how do I learn about this? I'm just curious. It's actually because I need to make videos about things. So like I need to go and learn things. And other times I'm just genuinely curious. I'm a very curious person. I just kind of, if I don't know something and I want to know, I'll just go and figure it out. I think that's actually a very valuable trait. I think I talked about this in one of my videos. Like actually one of my upcoming videos is about that, which is learning how to learn. Can we talk about WebGL? I actually don't know anything about WebGL, so I don't know if I can talk too much about that. But I was saying, like learning how to learn is super, super important. Just being able to pick up any task that you want and figure it out. That's something that's valued in any job that you go to. People that are independent, but they can work as a team player, but can also get things done quickly and easily. Is not necessarily quickly, not necessarily easy, but can get things done. Right? Be faced with a vague problem and solve that problem on their own. That's a valuable skill, or with minimal help. And you don't like really start like that, right? It's not just like one day. It's like, wow, I'm Superman. I'm great at this. It's a very progressive thing where I can tell you, for instance, when I was at my first job, you feel like you know nothing, right? Like walking in there, it's like, how am I going to compete with these guys that are around me? And it's not a good feeling. But after a while, after you grind it out, you learn how to be resourceful. That's actually a very good thing to have too. A very good trait is to know how to be resourceful. It's like Googling is a art, honestly. So learn how to use Google well, is my advice. Would you ever try your hand at contributing to an open source project? I've tried a couple open source projects, and I don't know, I just can't get motivated. Like, I feel like I don't have ownership in it. Like, unless it's something that I'm starting because I want to do and I need help, it's just, it's hard for me to stay motivated. And if I don't really like the particular problem that we're solving, it can get demotivating for me, and then I kind of give up. Other than that, like in terms of just being a regular open source contributor, like I don't got time for that. I'm just doing way too much stuff right now between work and talking to you guys and making videos and my life, basically. I don't really have much time. Joel is asking, are you open to working together on a startup project? I live in Mass and working on AWS as a DevOps engineer for 3 years, but have development experience, need a partner if possible. I'm actually not allowed to, like my work conditions, like my contract is that I can't have any other jobs basically. So I unfortunately can't do that, Joel, I'm sorry. But I wish you good luck. And if you have any other questions or anything you need help with or any guidance, feel free to reach out either by email or on Twitter, anything like that. Jack is saying, I'm trying to capture IP addresses from an NLB and store them in DynamoDB. Is there a way to do this using Lambda? So I'm trying to capture IP addresses from an NLB. So, like you have requests that are coming in and they're hitting an NLB, right? And then after they hit the NLB, they go other places, right? Either to an EC2 machine or, container or whatever you're hosting it on. But I think you lose part of the details of the original request, right? The IP, I think only the load balancer holds that. So I don't know if that's possible. And I don't really know if I actually got your example quite right. Abhishek is asking, is AWS Lambda function the only option to create an API in AWS? No, absolutely not, Abhishek. Many different ways. It is the easiest, or one of the easiest. Many different ways. You can just host an EC2 machine. Create a T2 micro EC2 machine that costs absolutely nothing. Start up an Nginx server. Get a Flask API on Python. Actually, just Google a container a Docker container that already has everything that you need, and then just start up a machine. Create a Docker file. Install Docker. Obviously, you're going to need to do that on that local machine, and then just run it. And then you can create if that machine is publicly accessible, you can access that machine. You can create a URL or an API and access that machine just fine. So there's many different ways of doing it. Is AWS Lambda? Oh, I already answered that. Lambda function is usually just what the function is, not the networking aspect. Yeah, Leon's got it right. What do you do when you seriously need help in understanding some technology? Like, it depends on the exact scenario, I would say. Like, do you have people around you that can help? Like, do you have colleagues that may know? Do you have, like, are you completely on your own? So you don't have anyone to talk to? But honestly, what I usually do, like, if there's something that I don't know about, for instance, someone was just asking a question about WebGL. I just start Googling WebGL. And usually I just go to YouTube because I really enjoy watching videos. And that's exactly why I created this channel, because I like watching videos to learn. I'm a very visual learner. Like, I can read, obviously, and understand things, but I consume information best when people are explaining it to me, not when I'm reading words. So that's why I have this channel. That's why I'm trying to help you guys, because I feel like some of you guys are in the same boat. But like, just to understand the concepts of this. So let's try YouTube actually and see what we got. I would actually probably, even before I go to YouTube, I would just like get some definitions. So like, what is, WebGL, Wikipedia. It's probably where I'd start. So I'd start here, kind of get some basic ideas about like what it is. And I know it's like a engine, right, for doing graphics in the browser, right? Is that still what this means? JavaScript API for rendering interactive 2D. Yeah. So things like, I don't know if you guys have ever played Quake, the video game Quake. Any Quake players? But I used to play Quake live. And it was in the console. You didn't even have to download anything. It was awesome. And it was done, I believe, using WebGL. But anyways, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here. But kind of it depends on your situation, Abhishek. Like, ask questions on Stack Overflow if you're really stuck. I find people are really helpful. Ask questions on Reddit. There's a whole bunch of different resources. Watch YouTube videos. That's usually where I start. And then a good idea as well is to, as you're watching these videos, not only take notes of the content, because I think there's a lot of value in writing things down, whether you're typing it or physically writing it, because I find that you retain it a lot well. But also keep a list of open questions. It's like, I don't like, or how does that work? Say something, you're watching a video, for instance, and you're like, how does that work? And you want to figure it out, but you don't have time right now. You kind of don't want to interrupt your flow. Just write it down, jot it down. It's like, what is this? Just blah, 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 question mark. And then when you're done your kind of round or whatever you're reading or watching, then go and look it up. And often that can lead you down a rabbit hole, so just be careful. But start small, right? Like, you learn by doing. So I would say watch some resources, take some notes, answer some open questions. Start with very small projects and incrementally add complexity. I think that is a surefire way to understand pretty much any topic. What else do we got? Keep the questions coming, guys. It doesn't have to be about AWS. It could be about anything. Software, the weather, my plants. You guys want to see my plants? I'm a really big plant guy. So I have a lot of plants. Hold on, I'll show you. Oh my God, my headphones. Look at this guy. Look at that guy. Yeah, he's beautiful, right? Got a nice birch pole. Gorgeous. This is like a $400 plant. It's called a variegated monstera. This is the one. Variegated monstera. Well, this is like an extreme example. But they're super, super rare because all the hipsters love this stuff right now. I don't know why. And I live in a big city. I live in Toronto, in Canada. So I guess people are getting bored and they just want, and they're in their homes all the time, right? So people really want plants. I swear if I try to sell this plant right now, I could probably get like $1,000. Like I know it's probably worth in a normal market, maybe like $400. But I got this thing when it was like this big. It was tiny. And I've had it for over a year and it's a monster now. I have more plants too. I'll save that for another stream because I have like 8 around me right now. Serverless. So someone's asking, serverless deployment framework of choice and why? I use SAM. I mean, they all work. What I would do is what I think is the happiest case is if you don't even have to worry about deployments. You just push code and use GitHub hooks or code build with a code pipeline that just basically streamlines the whole thing. So if you guys have never seen code build, code pipeline in that ecosystem, it's a little bit, it's growing, it's getting mature, but basically it's a full CD, full CI solution. So if you don't know what that means, what full CI and what full CD means, I'll just explain that very quickly. Hold on, stream. Give me a second. I got the right tool for the job. I'm gonna draw for you guys. So I got this lovely beauty. This is my my drawing tablet that I use for, you know, the videos I do where it's like a blackboard on the back kind of thing. This is what I use for that. And it's awesome. I've actually learned recently that I love to draw. Who knew? And I've been notoriously bad as a drawer when I was a kid. And I got this thingamajig and I just started messing with it. And now I'm like drawing all the time. It's kind of crazy. Okay, hold on. Let me get my thingy-majigger set up. Smooth draw. Smooth draw. Man, when I was seeing that I had like no viewers before for this stream, even though I planned it and everything, or I thought I had no viewers, I was so bummed out. I'm so glad this worked. There's 20 people here. Yo, sup everyone. Okay. Let me see if this is a good size. Not black. Nice. Hold on. Okay. And my face is too big. There. So what were we were talking about full CD, right? So full CD or CI. And this is continuous integration. Oh God, you guys can't see that. There we go. And now I can't see the chat. This is just a disaster. Okay, that's better. Integration or continuous deployment. They're deployment. And what these basically do is they make it so if you consider like how most companies operate, especially smaller companies, usually have like 2 environments, right? You have like a test environment, test, and like prod, right? Yeah, continuous deployment / delivery. It's a like, you know, everyone's got their own thing here. So what usually happens is like you have tests and you have prod, and then somewhere else you have like a Git repo, right? Like Git, right? And then you have like your dudes, like people, like me. So your engineers are making some changes, right? So the most basic of this is like you're uploading Git, right? And then this guy kind of pulls down Git, and then he makes his code, and then he updates stuff back. You know, all this kind of crap is going on here between multiple people in Git. Sometimes it gets confusing. Problem is, though, is that like, whoa, that's not a sound you ever want to hear. So the problem is, though, is that, you know, after this person pushes to Git, they still need to run like, you know, you got your SAM map. Let me make that bigger. SAM or Terraform, TF for Terraform, or, you know, whatever you're using. So you have this person that comes along that uses SAM, and then like in the command, he specifies what environment he wants to send this on, right? Like test, right? That's part of his command. And then he uses SAM, and then it goes to test, and then it uploads, and then this goes to, do I have orange? Let's get a different color, green. AWS land up here, right? Now your resources are just like, yay, check marks. So your person uploads to Git, other guys pull it off Git and make changes. The person runs SAM with some, you know, arguments, and then he uploads it to test. But you basically need to run a command, right? It's like SAM package, SAM deploy, like this is a disaster. Now you also run into the scenario of like, what if Billy over here, he never pulled before he ran the same command, right, using SAM. So he's got a SAM, oops. So he's got a SAM CDK or SAM, not CDK, SAM CLI. And he never pulled, but then he tries to upload to SAM or upload using SAM. And then he's also targeting test. Then you have like this guy uploaded and all these resources got modified potentially. And then it's essentially getting rolled back by this guy, right? Or maybe he's adding more changes. Who the hell knows what's going on here? But this is like the standard disaster scenario. And this can work for a little while, but like when you start getting over like 5 developers that are working on different things, it can very quickly get out of control. So let me explain to you what the gold standard of this looks like. So that was the unhappy case, right? So now let's talk about the happy case, right? So the happy case is basically a full-blown pipeline. And what I mean by pipeline is that you still have your test and your prod stages. Test, prod. But you also have an extra guy over here, a build stage. And it does more things than just build, but I'll explain this in a sec. So you still have a Git repository too. What color did I use Git in the other one? Git was yellow. Okay, well I already used that. So, and my palette is kind of limited. So you still have your source control, right? So Git. And you still have your people. People. Right? Now, what happens here is that your developers still upload to Git, right? This still happens. They're getting their code that way. The difference is that your build step is directly integrated with your source code. So whenever there's a modification to, for instance, like a package, so say like, you know, there's 2 packages, P1, P2. Sorry, I know you probably can't see that very well. But whenever there's a modification to this source and any of these 2 packages, it'll trigger, like you can have a push or pull model in your build step here. Either Git pushes to the builder or build pulls the Git change, whatever, like it can go either way. But essentially you're going from, green now. You're going from the repository to the build step, right? And usually in the build step, when you build a version of code, you kind of get a key or an ID that's associated with that version of code, right? So you have like V1 whenever a build step happens or a change occurs. So it'll wrap up all the dependencies for everything that changed in that repository, including all the dependencies that it has. And it can also do other things, which is really where this gets powerful and very useful. So it can do things like unit tests. It could do things like code coverage. Code coverage. Sorry, my writing is really terrible on this. It can do things like, what else can you do here? Like code review verification. So any kind of like verification step. There's a whole bunch of things you can do here, and it's basically your heart's or your brain's imagination of all the things you can do. But anyways, you can run it through all these separate things. And then only after all of these are done, right? So check mark, check mark, check mark, does the build get released and get promoted to the first environment. Okay. And these environments, to give you an idea of how this looks like in the real world, is that, like, say you're hosting an application, you'd have like a fleet of machines. Let me get red here. Can you use Canary in your deployments? So that was a question by Leon. Let me hold that question, Leon, because I use the term Canary is a little bit loaded, or overloaded rather. So I want to make sure that I'm understanding it in the way that you are describing it, other than how I think or other than what I think Canary means. But anyways, let me close this thought out first. But like how this looks like in the real life, or how it should look, is that these test and prod are like two completely different environments. And when I say environments, it's like if you're running an application, say it's a REST API and it's on EC2 machines, then you have EC2 machines just for the test version of the application. That says EC2, by the way, this box. And then you have another environment that also has its own EC2 applications. By the way, this is like gold standard, and this isn't what everyone's going to have. This is like if everything is great and your company has spent a lot of time and effort doing this. But it's basically where everyone tries to get, because it's completely automated. So to continue this story, so what happens is these two guys are completely separated. They're clones of these environments, but you have different machines, you have different databases, you have different infrastructure. Everything between test and prod is completely different. And the reason this works well, this doesn't work well in isolation if it's just you, just one company. Actually, you know what? I don't even want to get into that. Take that back. This works really well. Let's just say that. But anyways, you have clones of this stuff. And then what's even cooler is that once the application gets deployed to your test environment, to this EC2 machine, now you have an application that's running on test, right? You can access it how you would normally access it. But obviously you would have a specific URL for all your test environment EC2 machines as opposed to your prod ones, so you can differentiate. Obviously you want these to be in different VPCs as well, so they're completely independent of one another. VPC stands for Virtual Private Cloud. Now, normally you have, well, if you have a very primitive environment, then like you just like roll this forward right away. Like you build, you pass all the tests, it gets deployed here, the deployment was successful, the health checks get run, everything's good, and then it just goes automatically to prod, right? That's a pretty naive thing to do. But it's what some people do. So the reason why CI and CD is so good is because it's at this step. It's at the test step where you add extra things like integration testing. Integration testing. And integration testing is like you have a suite of packages, or like a package suite, and it's like a unit test. But you know, like in a unit test, you're testing like one function or like some small manageable piece of code. With integration testing, if you're like an app here and your app calls like this service, like service A, gets the data back, then calls like service B, right? Gets the data back and then does some like inner computation and then sends it to service C, something like this, right? This is like what your app actually does. You probably have like a unit test right here. You'd have a unit test like right here to make sure that you're calling these things, testing all the response values, another one right here, another one right here, another one right here. Like basically you're testing all these little things one by one, right? But if this whole thing is a sum, if we just draw a box around this, is like the / create user API or something like that, then you're testing create user in the integration testing. And that's going to have side effects, right? It's going to call other services, it's going to save things to databases. But basically what your integration test would look like is you set up some data, you call create user, And then you probably call another API called getUser and make sure that it has all the things that it's supposed to have. And if you think about this, like, why is this good? And obviously you test all the different combinations that are in between. The happy case, the sad case, the error cases, the empty input, the null inputs, all that stuff, right? But you get end-to-end testing out of this. And not only that, you're making sure that your dependencies are also in good shape, A, B, and C, that they're all up and running, that their APIs are all doing what they're supposed to be doing. So as your company grows and grows and grows, this web can go to like up to Z, right? You can have an N number of dependencies. It can get very, very complicated very fast. So, but before you would have integration testing, maybe you just would have done manual testing. You would have just triggered something. Hey, is it in the database? Okay, cool. This thing's good, right? Or something like that. But you'll quickly find that that doesn't work when you approach a scale where your code complexity is quite high or you have a lot of developers. So after you run your integration testing, if it fails, basically you stop. It doesn't get promoted, right? You need to either rerun the tests or submit a new fix or a new change to fix whatever was causing it to fail, or like revert your code review or whatever you were doing that caused this, and then fix it and then cause this process to go again, right? But let's assume that this was successful, right? So now, then it deploys to prod, right? And then it gets deployed and then it starts receiving traffic. So this is what everyone tries to get to, right? And there's a whole bunch of tools. There's like code deploy, code pipeline, blah, 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 all that jazz. But this is what everyone wants to have because you have so much confidence in your, it's contingent on the fact that these things, integration testing, your integration tests are good. This only works if you have good integration tests and good unit tests. Because if you don't, then you're like the whole premise of full CI, full CD is confidence. You have so much confidence in your testing that if you were to deploy a truly breaking change that would cause something, it would get caught either by the unit tests or either the integration testing. So if you destroy the confidence in the testing, or if you have really bad tests that don't completely cover all the cases, then this whole thing is just a complete waste of time. So that's kind of one of the caveats with this, is that you need to maintain your integration tests, because if they get out of date, you compromise the integrity of the whole setup. And so it's just a hellhole. So hold on, I just want to take some questions here. Let me know if you guys have some questions about this. But this is like what it looks like in real life, by the way, if you're just like a student or whatever. Or like it's at least what people try to get. And you'll find like everything in between of this, right? You'll find like people that are just starting out or startups and they're really scrappy, so they don't really care. You'll find places that kind of have some kind of hybrid of this, where they have this pipeline, but they don't have unit tests or code coverage or any kind of checking mechanisms or anything like that. And then you'll find people that have the whole thing, and then you'll have people with even more, like better versions of this that'll look even greater. And I want to talk about canaries in a moment here. But anyways, let me look at the chat here. Ask me questions if you have questions, guys. Aaron is asking, is this applicable with a full serverless environment? Benefit to serverless is I don't have to worry about configuring Lambda API gateway and logging, etc. Yeah, this still works for serverless. And if you're using Lambdas, what you can do is use something called Lambda aliases or Lambda versions. So if you have like a Lambda function, there's a concept and it's called latest, L-A-T-E-S-T, so latest. And then, so it's like a stack, right? So if you have like this different versions that you upload in sequence, this being the first version and this being the last version that you've uploaded, the most recent thing is always latest, right? And then you have different versions of this, right? So version 1, version 2, version 3. So you can create specific versions of it and create a pipeline for this that targets a specific version of your Lambda. And there's actually a really good example of this somewhere on AWS. Look up, oh man, what do you have to look up? It was a really good blog post article. I think it was like serverless Lambda deployments or like Lambda integration testing. Google that. I'm sure you'll find something good. Now I want to come back to canaries because Leon mentioned that, and I think that's a good point. So canaries mean multiple things to different people. To me, and in my work environment, what canaries mean are basically a continuous test, a continuous integration test that runs on an interval, and if it ever fails, it means that there's something wrong with your application. So that's my definition of canary. If yours is different, let me know. But oh, I didn't even talk about alarms. By the way, you have like alarms on the deployment. So if you deploy and things go wrong, they get detected by alarms and things get rolled back. Same thing happens for prod. But like if you have the way you can make this better is by having canaries, right? And so if you have a test, say you have like a machine sitting out here, right? EC2 machine that is constantly calling an API on this guy, right? It's constantly calling the create user API or whatever. And it knows what it wants back, right? It knows what the expected happy case is. So it's continuously calling this, right? So if you think of this like over a timeline, down here, it's just like poke, 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 poke every minute, right? It's calling that API. And so that's in itself isn't very useful. But when you have alarms that are hooked up to this, right? So if you have let me just scroll down here because this is getting a little bit tight. Actually, we want to see that. So if you have alarms that are like hooked into this, and if there's ever a period where there's not a success, so like success, 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 not success, the first data point where there's a failure, you trigger an alarm. And that's how canaries are generally used, at least from what I've seen. And why this is important is because it's kind of like an early notifier of a problem. Usually you set these alarms to go off for 1 minute or either one data point that goes wrong, so one failure, or two recurring. Because, you know, sometimes just it can screw up because maybe there was a network communication error or something like that. But if it screws up like 2 times, even 3 times in a row, like something's probably screwed in one way or another. So you have an alarm that goes off, and then that like, let me try to draw an alarm clock. Alarm clock. Alarm clock. That goes ring, 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 ring. And then it pages you. Yeah, it's like a heartbeat. Leon, exactly. It's like a heartbeat. But a heartbeat is usually just a poke that is, it's silly. It doesn't have any logic, like a ping heartbeat, right? It's saying, is anyone listening on this port? You make a request, you get an okay back. But this is a little bit more detailed. So there's business logic here in this request. What it's asking for, what it's getting, it knows how to handle it, and it knows what the success case should look like. So it's a continuous, to use the term heartbeat, it's a continuous running heartbeat that has specific logic in it that verifies that the integrity of the service is still maintained. So that's what canaries are, and that's how I've used them. And I just saw that AWS came out with something like this. It's in the CloudWatch section if you guys are interested. By the way, do you guys like these live streams? I know, Leon, you asked for a schedule. I'm trying to figure something out soon. I've just been really busy, and I'm trying to find like a schedule that works, frequency, all that kind of jazz. But yeah, let me know if you guys enjoy this. I mean, there's 16 people watching, so I hope you guys like this. And I like answering questions and talking to you guys, so let me know. Anyways, hopefully this explained CI, CD, like what this looks like in the real world. And yeah, I mean, it's obviously not always going to be this. So in all companies. So for instance, in like the first company I worked at that was a startup, they didn't really have this, right? They had a guy that basically came once a week and he just ran whatever was on Git and he deployed it to test, and then later he would deploy it to prod. It was so informal. And me being like a college student, I like, okay, is this how it works? I don't know. I didn't know anything. So I'm like, I guess this is how people write software. But I mean, it's different everywhere, right? You don't know what you don't know. But yeah, so that was what 20-year-old me thinking that that's how it works in the real life. But as you grow, you figure out the right and the wrong things. But yeah, full CI, full CD. Was there anything else that I wanted to talk about here? Leon says, I think they're fun. I think they're fun too. And you know what? I like the Let's Learn series because it motivates me to learn something new just from scratch. And I like the feedback that I get from you guys. Anyways, back to my plants. So this is a Thai constellation plant, variegated monstera. And super, super expensive. Okay, this one is kind of tall, eh? Wow. That's beautiful though. I love the white. The reason they're called variegated is the white. And then you put this thing in the center, is called a moss pole. So you kind of need to train it up like either a pole or some kind of thing. Like they have some of those cages, like metal wiring that you can put around it and it'll kind of train up. What is the tablet I am using? I am using hold on. Let me tell you exactly which one I'm using. I was actually going to do a review of this tablet, like a video review. And it's really good. It was a lot less expensive than like the brand that's like the de facto standard is Bamboo. Is it Bamboo? I can't remember the name. I don't remember the name. Here's the one that I bought. It's the VEIKK A15. And I think it's great. It works super, super well. I also got the software. I put the link, by the way, in the comment section. I also use it with Smooth Draw, which I like, and I got like a template for a white background, and you can kind of play with it like ink flow and stuff. So like if I show you what I'm saying here, so like I raised the ink flow, so now more ink is coming out. You can lower it, so now like you see it's like less coming out there, and then you can make obviously the brush size like ginormous. But yeah, that's what I'm using. No problem, man. Wacom, that's it. Thank you, Rakesh. It's Wacom. I was close to buying it, but this one was a little bit less expensive. Actually, when I bought it, I think it was on sale for $50 or $60 Canadian. So I don't know what that is for you guys, but it's the one that I use. And it's got like these buttons on the side that you can bind them to like Control Z or Control C or switch to eraser or anything like that. I don't think I actually ever, I'm just clicking them right now, but I don't think I ever tried them. Oh, and the thing that's good about this one too is that, where's my camera? I don't know if you can see, there's like, you see like the top part, like right there, there's what's called a nib, and it's a little plastic thing that you attach, and they run out, right? You're basically pressing against plastic, and over time it kind of not falls, but it degrades, and it becomes like a little shortened stump. So you get like, if you were to order a Wacom tablet, you get like 3 of those. With this thing that I bought, I got like 50. I'm never gonna need these for the rest of my life. It's ridiculous. And this one, I've had this for 4 months, and I've made plenty of videos, and I've been drawing a lot too. And it's got a lot of life in it. So I don't think I'm ever gonna need to buy these. So like for instance, if you try to buy the Wacom nibs, like look at the price for this. It's like $17. Okay, I don't know if this is like someone trying to... Is this the real one? Yeah, Wacom. These are the nibs. It's like a tiny piece of plastic, $12. 5 tiny pieces of plastic for $5. Can you believe that? The markup these guys are making. It's crazy. But anyways, I've been super happy with this one, and it does everything I need. I was tempted to get this because it's like supposedly the best one, but I was like, you know what, I'll take the risk. And it ended up working out pretty well. I'm happy with what I got. Anyways, back to the plants. So variegated Monstera has the white, and normal Monstera does not have the white. So you've probably seen these on like Instagram and stuff. And the holes are so beautiful. I love the holes. Actually, funny story. My first channel when I was starting in YouTube was about plants. You guys want to see something funny? Oh my God, it's not even listed. Hold on. YouTube? This is funny. Oh look, here I am again. A man, or I think it's one word. A man and his plants. What? I had a channel. I don't think it was at the point where it was named yet. Hold on. Let me figure this out, because I know I had a channel and I made videos on it and it wasn't working, so I stopped. So, all right, I don't know where it went, but anyways, I had a YouTube channel that was on plants. It's when I first started. It's called A Man and His Plants. I'll put it in the chat if you guys want to go look it up. A Man and His Plants. And I'm like, oh, this is a great idea, right? Because I knew I wanted to start a YouTube channel, but I wasn't sure what to do. And I was contemplating a couple things. Oops. Hold on. And I was contemplating a couple different topics. I'm like, what do I like to do in my life? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, this is the wrong thing here. Canary. There we go. What were we looking at? A tablet? No, we were looking at Monsteros. I knew I wanted to start a channel, and I was like, okay, what do I want to start this channel on? I'm like, oh, I love plants, so let's do something on plants, right? I'm like, oh, this is a fantastic idea. And what I quickly realized, that it's really hard to do videos on plants. It's like you can only practically do so many things. It's like they just sit there 90% of the time. How the hell do you make videos like once a week or whatever? And so I was like, okay, well, this clearly is not working. And then I'm like, oh, what else do I know well and like to do? It's like, I like tech stuff. So I was like, well, this makes sense. Let's do tech things. And now it's a monster, and I have 11,000, almost 12,000 subscribers now. So thank you for everyone. Thank you to everyone. But yeah, so these are like hot right now. You'll see them all over people's homes. Or maybe you need to like use the hashtag. Yeah, see, like, look at these beautiful girls. Oh, this one is amazing. Oh, screw off. That kind of looks like mine, right? But yeah, if you guys are looking for a side gig, go in, and if you live in a major metropolitan area, plants, trust me. Look at this. There's this plant store that lives in Toronto, that operates out of Toronto. And I know like the prices here are pretty low, but they have some plants, at least they did last year, that were for like $1,500 for a plant that, I kid you not, was like 8 inches, tiny. And people were buying them because they were getting sold and sold out. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I need a new job, man. I need a new job big time. Oh, you know why? I think he puts his nicest ones on bid now on eBay. So you can't even pay a flat rate because there's so much demand. I think that's what this guy does now. Because before he used to put them all here and just like first come, first serve. But now it's, I guess he figured like I can make more money by having an open bid process. So he just lets people bid. Leon says, I've seen a really impressive garden which uses fish for fertilization and a life cycle between the fish and the plants. It's just people helping people. You know, ecosystem is just giving back. Yeah. Anyways, what else do you guys want to talk about? Anyone got any questions or anything? What else can I show you? I can show you my broken mechanical keyboard. I'm not happy about that. Nothing really. Let's read Hacker News. Let's make this bigger. Let's see what's going on in tech. Oh man, it's a funny story. So I was learning Ruby the other day. Do you guys know Ruby? Does anyone here know Ruby? I don't want to offend anyone. People that like Ruby are usually very opinionated, so I don't want to like ostracize any population. But anyways, I went to this website, Learn X in Y minutes. I don't know if you guys have ever heard about this, but this is the best website to learn any program. Like if you already know how to program and you're just trying to learn a new language because it's just like, crap, I need to write in Python, or damn it, I need to write in Node.js or whatever. This is the bee's knees. Like this thing is awesome. So I was using it to learn Ruby. So it just basically gives you like the TLDR of the language. So all the basic stuff like classes, how methods work, your operations, bit stuff, your rounding, your trues and your falses, your greater than operations, your expressions, the print commands, how to define functions, equality, arrays, lists, dictionaries, maps, putting to console, all sorts of stuff here. And it's the same format for every language too. So it's super awesome. So I was using this to learn Ruby. And at least at my work, Ruby has a bad rap because, I don't know, like, so there's this particular tool that's written in Ruby that I think people don't like the tool. And the fact that they have to write it in Ruby is just kind of, you know, like what I'm trying to say is they take their pain, they take their frustration out on the language as opposed to like the way the tool is written and how it works. So it's kind of sad. But anyways, I was writing a script the other day using Ruby, and I thought this was a pretty fun, pretty neat language if you actually know what's going on. Because there's some like weird stuff you can do when iterating over maps and like weird notation. It's like stuff like this. It's like warnings.empty question mark. Like what the hell? And I think this means like it's testing like true. It's a truthy. If it's testing if it's a truthy or falsy value. So it wants a falsy or wants a not. But it's, oh yeah, can I zoom in a little? Absolutely. Sorry about that. But yeah, there's all sorts of little traps in there. Anyways, I thought that was interesting. That's the guard, I think. What's a guard, Leon? Maybe I just don't know what that means. Oh, yeah. Don't know Ruby. Neither do I. I know enough. Basically, I learn enough to do what I need to do, and then I move on. Oh, there's a guard operator? What's a guard operator? Never heard of this. Maybe I'm just dumb. Ah, okay. JavaScript has the guard operator in the control flow when you know it's a guard operator and not just logical and. Falsely typed value if you don't coerce the guard to a Boolean. Okay, I don't have enough interest in this to learn it right now. Guard in a nullish coalescing operator. Okay, I guess I can see where that's useful in JavaScript. What is going on in here? Do I need Kubernetes? Probably. Web history. Oh man, I know all about this. It's in C#. Wow, this is just one beefy article. I remember the days where, I don't know if this is still true for web developers, but like you would write an app and it would work in Chrome. 95% of the time it would also work in Firefox, but something would just not work in Internet Explorer. I hope that problem has gone away now. This was like 5 years ago. Web. What is web by Google? Yeah. A layman's guide to understanding the cloud. That's gotta be a good read. Debian turns 27. Holy smokes, it's been 27 years? That's just nuts. Mozilla Lifeboat? I don't even know about this situation. What is this situation? What is this? Mozilla recently done 2 rounds of layoffs. Oh, are they like collapsing? Which has affected some of the most talented people I've been lucky enough to be friends with. Mozillians are everywhere. Huh. I guess they're going under, right? Oh, this just brings me back here. Oh, so people are just trying to help them out. But is Google like giving them money? Is that, I just saw that somewhere. I think it was on the previous page, page 2, or it was Google. No, first page maybe. Okay, I lost it. Lifeboat. Damn, that's such a shame, man. I really like Firefox. I hope they survive. This is bullshit. Sorry, excuse my language. I just really don't like the direction Google is taking the browser. Honestly, I just don't like Google as, like, my personal opinion is I don't like Google as a company. I find that, I think they're in for a reckoning once people realize the amount of data they collect. I think your average consumer doesn't really understand how much data is being taken off of you, right? It's absolutely insane. Location data, time-based data, who you're close to, like with your location and like everything that's on your phone, they're scanning your Gmail, they're scanning your email, they're profiling you. They're building so much, and Brave is owned by an advertising company now, of course. They're collecting so much information on you, it's scary. I don't know if people know this, but like when you download an app and you give like an app like location access, most people just like click through, right? They don't even notice what they're giving away. But you give an app location access, like that thing's harvesting data on your phone and selling it to someone, right? And if you think about it, Google has all that information. It's built in. They own the OS. They own everything. So they 100% have it. And like just recently I started getting emails where it's like your month, like, you know, and obviously it's coronavirus time. So like I'm not really going anywhere. I don't know about you guys. But it shows you your history, where you've been that month, locations you've been, like landmarks you've been. Like I went, not camping, but I went to a cottage the other week. And it showed that I went to the cottage, man. It's like scary stuff. I don't like it. But the thing is, if you, like, what options do you have, right? And so the thing I like is that Apple is actually being more progressive in terms of privacy rights and ownership of data. I trust Apple more as a custodian of my data than I do Google. Google will just sell, like they've proven that they have no soul. They'll sell to whoever is willing to take their products, and I don't agree with that. But anyways, guys, I'm gonna close this out in 2 minutes. I'll take some final questions here. I'm getting kind of tired. I have to work tomorrow morning. But if you guys have some final questions, I'm going to stop at, well, it's 10:45 my time, but that's 2 minutes from now. Let me know if you want anything to be answered. Gotta hate Mondays, man. But summer, still warm here, still nice weather. It actually was 25 Celsius today. Went for a nice walk. Valanki says, thanks for this and all the other video collections. They are very helpful. You are very welcome. And I'm actually going to be posting a video tomorrow on how to choose a database on AWS. So I kind of made a video that's like kind of like a flow chart where you start at the top and it's like a decision tree. And then you answer questions, and then when you get to the bottom, it basically suggests what you should use. And I kind of walk you through that. So that video is coming out tomorrow morning, so look out for that. And yeah. All right, so it's just at 10:45, guys. I'm going to head off. Thanks so much for stopping by and asking all the questions and everything. I find these really fun. I'll try to do them more often, and I'll try to schedule them in advance. It'll probably be at this time of day most frequently, so 9 p.m. EDT, which is when this stream started. And sorry for my technical failures in the beginning. I kind of screwed it up. But anyways, guys, yeah, happy Monday tomorrow. Hope you all have a great week. And I'll see you in my next video and in my next live stream. All right, guys, take care.